August 8th of 2015, I lost my brother-in-law. My sister told us that he had just had a heart attack, but then simple things didn't add up. He wanted his body to be donated to science, but at the last minute he was cremated. And my cousin told me that the day before he passed away, Matt, my brother-in-law, told him that he just wanted to escape and not feel any more pain. My sister finally told us 3 months after Matt had passed away that he had actually overdosed on heroin. People are becoming overly content with the heroin epidemic. First, I'm going to talk about where they get their supply, who it affects, and why. Next, I'll talk about the treatment centers, what they offer, and why they're helping, and finally, how close this is coming to our home. First, where the supply comes from, all the fatalities, and why. Dr. Nora Volko said that 4,102 people died as an unintended consequence of heroin overdoses in 2011, this being a 47% increase in a single year. Heroin is cheaper in the U.S. and more pure due to the amounts seized at borders with Mexico. In 2007, 93% of the world's opium supply, a form of heroin, came from Afghanistan. This is spreading to suburban and rural areas, and it's affecting young people. Lindsay Cook, a data editor for U.S. News and World Report, said that people are 40 times more likely to become addicted to heroin if they were once addicted to prescription painkillers. Half the people addicted to heroin were also addicted to painkillers, she also said. Friedman said that many addicts go untreated and cannot afford treatment because they don't have insurance. 1 out of 10 people who needed treatment in 2012 received it, and 40% had no health coverage. WebMD said that opiate and heroin addiction is a chronic medical condition, and the long-term effects alter the brain circuits responsible for mood and reward behaviors. Drug Free World said that people use drugs to fit in, escape, relax, out of boredom, to seem grown up, or to rebel or experiment. Next, we're going to look at one of the causes of heroin addiction, the treatment centers, and what is focused on for full recovery. Prescription pain medication is one of the causes for heroin addiction. Once they are on pain medication, they become addicted to it and they want a better high. So they start buying off the streets, and that ends up turning into heroin. Treatment is the same for prescription pain medications such as opiates and narcotics as for heroin. We need to become more open-minded to the medication-assisted treatments. And under the Affordable Care Act, insurances have to cover residential and outpatient treatments. Volko said that if addicts have been abusing for years, the 28-day residential treatment is not going to fully help them. They need at least 5 years to fully recover. Finally, how is this affecting us? It is in our front yard, our backyard, and it's even in our home. Drug busts in Harrison, Connorsville, Richmond, and Batesville, and even in our small town of Brookville, it's too close to home. We don't think about it that close. You may know someone who has overdosed, someone who uses, someone who abuses, someone who sells, or you may have even lost a loved one. And all in all, you can now see that we as citizens are turning a blind eye to what is happening right in front of us. We need to become more alert to the heroin epidemic. Heroin is dangerous not only to us, not only to the users, but to their loved ones as well. My brother-in-law Matt had a 2-year-old daughter, and Matt is not going to be able to see her grow up, graduate from high school, have achievements in sports or anything. Until a loved one has passed, you may not see its effect on our society. Now knowing where the supply comes from, who it affects, and why people use drugs, you can see that it's not benefiting, as well as seeing the treatment centers and what they offer and how close to home this is really becoming. Don't wait for a loved one to become addicted or to overdose. Let's open our eyes now and create the solution needed to stop this murderous drug.
You said if they were addicted to painkillers, they're 40% more likely to become addicted to heroin. How do you stop the painkiller addiction?
It's going to have to be with people prescribing it, and then doctors continuously prescribe it because they say they are still in pain, but they're actually more of a mental pain because of the altering in the brain. They think that they are hurt, but they're not actually hurt. So they need to keep a better eye on who is actually using these pain medications and how often they really, how often they take the medication, as well as if they're actually using it or selling it. Yeah.
Did you happen to find like any good or safe alternatives to using painkillers instead?
In my last speech, I talked about the different types of like non-medication, like physical treatments and not so much medication. But in order for the heroin addicts to withdraw, they can't just stop it cold turkey, because they will end up dying from not having the correct amount of system,
This may seem like an odd question, but is it, I mean, all addiction is bad, but is it better to have people addicted to prescribed painkillers versus illegal street drugs like heroin?
Personally, and like looking online, no, it's not, because once they're addicted to the prescription painkillers, they can't continuously refill their prescription. The doctor's eventually going to find out and stop it. Therefore, they're still going to be addicted, and they're still going to want a high from the painkillers, and that's when they turn to street drugs, and eventually it turns into heroin.
Okay.